Hey, folks, welcome to the pre-show. Scotty Roberts here, your host. So, welcome to the show. What do you got?
I had my first day of school today.
First day of school today. Look, your face is behind the mic. Let's lower that for you. Why don't you tell people how your first day went? Meh. First day of second grade.
I got embarrassed by Mom.
Mom embarrassed you? What'd she do?
She yelled, "I love you."
She yelled, "I love you." Remember, Mom's the new lunch lady at the elementary school. So this one is happy she gets to see Mom every day. Why would that embarrass you if Mom yells, "I love you," in front of everybody in the school?
She's yelling like 1,000 times and everybody hears.
Nice. Well, that's a good thing. So everybody knows your mom loves you. You know what? Maybe I'll come with pizza one day to lunch.
Please
and
don't.
I'll yell from the door, "Ellery, I love you. I have pizza."
Please don't.
Then you'll be the envy of everybody because you got Mom and Dad both love you.
I'll quit school then.
Okay, yeah, you quit school and go work the streets, right? All right, I'm going to send you off to bed. It's bedtime, and Mom's out for a little bit, so I love you. I love you, Ellie. Good night.
No.
Good night. Go to bed. All right.
Bedtime.
All right, yeah, you can take the dog with you.
Bedtime.
All right.
Forgot me.
Good night. At least you're in middle school now, so you don't have to be embarrassed by Mom's yelling out, "I love you." So here I got to start the stream over there. Stream is started for radio.
Okay, goodbye.
Good night. Go to bed. Thank you. I love you. Thank you for your services today. We were moving things over, a couple of loads over today. That's a nice thing. We've got 10 days to finish off this move. So we've been taking the garage all over there. Everything's in storage. Moving it all over.
You gotta give me $40 now.
Good night. So, all right. Welcome, everybody, to the pre-show. Those of you who are here, we got a couple of minutes before we go on air at Odyssey Radio. Matt Finn, good to see you, brother. And Steve Clark, how are you? And Matthew Sainsbury, good to see you. Niall, good to see you. I think Niall's here. Yeah, there he is. Thought I saw him. I saw somebody talking to you. So, as people come in, I'll say, Michelle Canham Free. I hate missing you when you come in and I'm talking, so I miss you. Susie Q, good to see you. Glad to have you here. And, yeah, there we go. We got about a minute left, and we go live on Odyssey Radio. So, I got to tell you, I am worn out tonight from moving stuff, and I can lift. The muscle structure is there, but man, have I got some dizzy stuff going on. I got to go check that out. That's all since the COVID stuff. So hopefully that's not just a hangover from that. But man, there were points today. I loaded half the trailer and I'm like, I got to sit down. That's weird. I don't like that feeling. All right, guys, we're going to go dark as usual for a few seconds, and then we go live on radio. So stand by and sit tight.
Intrepid radio program. with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Well, hey, folks, happy Wednesday night. It's me, your host, Scotty Roberts, right here on my show, the Intrepid radio program, broadcasting live on Odyssey Radio. That's ODYSY radio.com in audio format only. But you can go over there and listen to the lineup all day long while you're working, doing stuff on your computer, whatever. All kinds of shows over there to listen to and to tune into. You can also see this show live in video simulcast, 4 different ways, 3 of them over on Facebook. One is my Facebook, Odyssey Radio Facebook, and Intrepid Radio Facebook, and of course on our YouTube channel. And that's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And, I'd rename that, but that's the name I give it, and I'm kind of stuck with it years ago. So that's where to find it in video simulcast. You can join the chat, subscribe to the chat room, give us a thumbs up, and join the channel. Click on the little join button. You'll see 3 different ways you can do that. And welcome to the program, everybody over in the chat room. Good to have you here tonight. Now, the title of tonight's show is Exoplanets and Aliens. And so I was going to stick to kind of when the first concept of this came last night to say, hey, let's just extend what we didn't cover last night from Nat Geo and other places that were writing about the exoplanets. I thought, let me pose this question to you. Would the discovery of alien life out there alter or have an effect on your faith? No matter what faith you are. Now, I address more Christians with this because in Christianity, we were taught, God, not that long ago, 40 years ago, when I was a kid in the youth group and growing up and into college, that there is no alien life. Any alien life, it's all demons, we were taught, because it's Satan trying to distract our attention from God. And so I had that belief system going in, and then I thought, now that we're finding out that how many galaxies are out there, how many solar systems are within those galaxies, how many potential exoplanets there are, an exoplanet being a Star Trek type M planet, something that could sustain life as we know it, are in the multiple hundreds of billions. Sarah Yusuf says, personally, no, it wouldn't affect her faith at all. Really, frankly, not mine either. So what does that do? Does that change elements of your faith for you? If you say, are we the only planet? I remember when I was in the youth group, I was told once by one of the youth pastors that if there is alien life, well, then Jesus would have also had to die for their sins as well. And I said, well, wouldn't that be presuming then that that alien life, it's the same kind of life that we are? What if they don't have original sin as we were taught in the conservative fundamentalist Baptist church? And so there's those questions that come up. So can a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, anybody else, can you look at the possibility of alien life out there, the probability of it, and maintain your faith? Steve Clark says, Scotty, are the alien women beautiful? Maybe I'd take myself a new wife. Well, Captain Kirk thought they were. What did Eddie Murphy say in his comedy routine from back in the 80s? He said, like, that Captain Kirk, he's a hoe. Why, he effed that green bitch, he said. And it was funny back then, of course. But, of course, we look at shows like Star Trek, and they played up their hero and their main character is getting the woman all the time. That was the 60s mentality. Slow your roll, Captain Kirk. Yeah, there it is, says Sarah Yusuf. And so extraterrestrials, what is an extraterrestrial? Let's talk about that a little bit tonight, and specifically where I was talking about exoplanets, and we kind of covered that last night. It's all these planets that they're discovering, not because we visited there, but the probability, the mathematical probabilities, the lights that they can pick up, the distances they can measure that they are from their suns by the shadows they cast or the silhouetting they do when they cross over in their orbit the surface of their star. And they come up with saying there's got to be an estimated 200 million exoplanets that could sustain life in some form as we might know it. Niall Parkinson says, I think the discovery of alien presence would have a profound effect globally on the presumption of Christians as being the solitary creation of God. Could possibly lead to a catastrophe. Maybe that's why we've had our leaders hiding it, at least in the West. Hiding contact. Has there been contact? They say there has been. What do you believe? It's like everything else. What do you believe based on what we're told? So I would think that you'd want to say, and I would like to say, and I've said this before, I think not discovery, because we wouldn't be discovering it, but the realization that there is alien life out there, what would that do to the state of affairs on this planet? What would it do with our petty squabbles over oil or whatever else might be out there? I just pulled that one out of my hat. What would it do to our petty squabbles on this planet and who's dominating what continent and what country when we realize we might be the new kids on the block and the small-time players? What if there genuinely is that, as we talked about with the Sasquatch speaks, but it's expressed in other areas other than the Sasquatch framework? What if there is a federation out there, a galactic federation? What if there are aliens that can visit us? They would be aliens to us. We would be the aliens to them. What if we were visited by extraterrestrial presences? Some say we already have been. And so the question comes up, why do they hang out? And what are they doing hanging out here? So I think, was it Professor Bauer that brought that up last night, or Dave Potter in the captain's cabin? Or was it Sarah who said this? What is the, why would aliens come all the way here just to hang out? It's like, what are they doing now that they're here? Oh, they're just watching us, hanging out. Well, I just traveled, 20 light years to get here, and I'm going to sit back and just watch you guys and hang out. I don't know. We don't know for sure. What did Sarah Yusuf say? If we show up on someone else's planet with alternative forms of life, how would we be reacted to? Scotty, if I took a new alien wife, I would go live on her planet, says Steve Clark. What if they didn't have horses? That's the whole thing. What's their planet going to be like? There would be things, I would think Mars would be fascinating to colonize, but not if there's nothing there. I'm living out on this red deserty rock that I can't breathe the air unless we terraform. And there's nothing to see. I can go walk around the canyons. To me, traveling and going places, it's about discovering. It's about seeing the ancient life that might have been there. Now, maybe Mars is glutted with ancient ruins and ancient life that we don't know about. We don't know it for sure yet. Niall says, I have an opinion on this. We think we are special. If these guys came down and put us in our place, it may just be what we need. And I would agree with you, Niall. That might just be what we needed. What would happen on this planet, as I started to ask, to all our wars, our petty squabbles, our countries, our nations, and whatever, if we realized we ain't the only ones out there? And I think a lot of our attitude in this world and the way we do things is based on the fact we think we're the only ones here. And we don't give it a second thought, some people. So, yeah, have a good brew with them, Steve Clark says. So, I want to look at a couple of things here. What would life beyond Earth mean for Christianity? Now, I pulled some articles off of some Christian sites because that's closer to my faith base. And I wanted to ask these questions, but you can apply this to Judaism. You can apply this to Islam. You can apply this to other religions. And frankly, I think other religions outside of the Abrahamic religions are probably a little more open to alien life. But there are also people out there within the circle of Abrahamic religions, many who are in the same position I'm in, Professor Bauer is in. We have former lives in ministry and in a belief system that we've moved out of because we think there's more there than what we think there is, than what we were taught there was. So while astronomers are discovering these thousands, if not millions, of planets in orbit around other stars, they now estimate that there are billions of Earth-like planets in our galaxy alone. When, remember, that size of your fingernail, if you hold it up to the night sky, has 10,000 galaxies in it. Exponentially do the math on that one for the whole sky, for the whole the firmament above us. They now estimate that there are billions of Earth-like planets in our galaxy. And so could intelligent life be living on some of those planets? And this is the subject of a lot of scientific speculation and entertaining science fiction. We all know that. We grew up with that. So while we haven't yet detected signs of alien life out there, as we look out, we've detected things we think might be. We get some radio waves that come in that have some consistent pattern to them that make us think this is not a natural thing. But we haven't discovered them yet, at least out in the open. We haven't. And while we haven't detected them, what would such a discovery mean for people of faith in an Abrahamic God? Some atheists claim the discovery of aliens would destroy organized religion or invalidate the Bible. However, there's a survey of religious people that's found that most are comfortable with the idea of intelligent aliens, and they don't see it as threatening to their beliefs at all. Astronauts such as John Glenn actually found their trip to space to bring them closer to God and to a deeper faith. The Bible is still relevant in the space age. It makes claims far beyond the people and the places of Earth. I think the Quran for Islamic peoples would be, or Muslim religion, would be still pertinent to them if there's a discovery of other life. Describing God as the creator of all life or the originator of life in the entire cosmos, I don't think would be affected. Yet there's still a lot of questions that remain for people that are in faith. So think of your own situation. Hey, Teresa Dentone, good to see you over in the chat room. I think they're intelligent for not living here, Teresa says. You might be onto something there. Let's think about some of the common questions that might come up. Christians ask a lot of questions about intelligent life beyond the earth. I think Jews do as well. Muslims do as well. A lot of people do. But I'm focusing in. I'm going to get a little myopic. I'm going to deal with the way, because it's from my old faith structure and what I'm closest to. I'm going to deal with Christianity. And no, when I say Christianity, I'm meaning people of faith in their religions. So while we ponder all these questions about asking about intelligent life beyond the earth, we can remember that the significance of humanity is based on, according to the Bible, God's actions toward us here on earth, on our planet. God became incarnate as one of us, the Bible says, and sacrificed himself to save us, humanity. He wasn't excluding anyone else, just saying that was the ministry, if you will, for lack of a quicker, better word, of God to humanity, according to the Bible, to create the Messiah, the kinsman redeemer in the Jewish sense of thinking, to create the Savior and what's morphed into modern Christianity from original Christianity. So whether there are aliens or not, I think you can still, if you're a person of faith, look to God and say, we're still significant in the eyes of God, or the original, or Allah, or the Creator. We can stay curious about life beyond the earth and celebrate all life that God chooses to create. A big question would be, why did he create us this way, that we needed a Messiah or a Savior in the first place? We're going to set that question aside. So we're just talking about other things here. So what did the professor have to say? I see something. The issue for Western theologies is other life challenges, the fundamentalists, or the fundamentals, which they are based on. There it is. I think so too. That's a very good point, Professor Bauer. So the big question is anybody out there, for people who have a very focused or myopic, and I don't use that in a negative way, a myopic look at their faith and what they think is here and what's out there. People have speculated for decades, if not hundreds of years, about the number of alien civilizations, like the Drake equation, which we talked about last night. And while we haven't met aliens yet, it would be fascinating to communicate with an intelligent species from another planet. But we are a long way from that for several reasons, I think. Then again, you can ask people in our government and people that really work beyond our government that will say, we already have that contact. There's the idea or the notion that aliens haven't communicated with us yet. So despite UFO reports, conspiracy theories, there's no credible evidence or out there in your face evidence of extraterrestrial visitors to our planet, unless you accept anecdotal personal experience. That's about the only evidence. That doesn't mean there's no evidence. It means that evidence has been kept on a personal level, or the evidence is being kept from us. So more likely it is that we'll communicate through radio waves, which can travel long distances through the galaxy, and our human communications leak into space. What if an alien civilization is also leaking information? Excuse me, or even beaming a greeting our way? Sorry about the cough. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, is a serious scientific search for such communications. And nothing's been detected yet other than little blips on the radar that seem like they could be manufactured by an intelligence as opposed to natural random blips out there. But groups are scanning the skies. They're for radio waves, for other signals, with increasing sophistication and sensitivity. So we don't know if life beyond Earth is abundant or rare. I tend to think it's abundant. I don't have proof for that, but I would say my speculation would be, and my belief would be, based on my speculation, that there is probably an abundant life, that the galaxy and the universe is rich with life. If you believe in a creator or an originator, you just create all that crap to have stuff floating around. It's like it's an awful large waste of space, I think. A new word may be to be used, says Amanda Berry. I'm not sure what that was in context to. Sorry about that. So, so we have little scientific information to go on. Scientists don't even understand the origin of life on our own planet, let alone whether or not it exists everywhere else in the galaxy and the universe. Still, when you look at the theory of evolution, what is it? It's still a theory. They're theorizing. They think they're getting closer. But I had always speculated that if we've got all these stages, you've seen the charts from Australopithecus, whatever, all the different primates, all the way up to modern man. And I thought, well, where are all the in-betweens? What are the remains showing us that all these different stages have DNA connections and are all, other than just saying, you know, what do they say? 65% of all chimpanzees, humans, primates, they all share about 65% DNA. That's all we know. But we don't have any evidence of all the in-between stages. So how do we know it's not the one skeleton is just an anomaly or a different species altogether? We don't know that. So the origin of life on our own planet is still in question, still misunderstood. We still don't have solid answers on that. As for Christianity, Judaism, Islam, they all hold wide ranges of views on all of this stuff. Some believe that God created intelligent life on earth through a miracle, and they expect God did it only once, only one time. Others have no theological expectations, but since we haven't heard from aliens, they figure we're probably alone. Still, others believe God designed the universe so that intelligent life would inevitably evolve on its own, and expect to find it flourishing in many places. This is the practical deist in me that says maybe God created the alarm clock and wound it up, set it off, and went and did his own thing somewhere else. God's got other things to do sometimes, I think, other than, sorry, I don't mean to be blasphemous to anybody or insensitive. If he hears all of our prayers, do you think he's got other things to do other than listen to the prayers of billions of people every day? That all by itself is a different theological case, so we'll just set that aside as well. So even if simple life exists beyond the earth, what I mean by simple life, plant life, marine life, but none of that is simple when you get down to its biology. But even if simple life exists beyond the earth, intelligent life could be much rarer. That means sentient life, self-aware life, civilization. It's like I say, I look at the animal kingdom here on Earth, and I say, yeah, we can see animals. Beavers will build beaver dams. They're imbued with instinct to do certain things, to build their homes, make their nests, feed their young, feed themselves. How many of them have developed internet? You know, beaver internet. No jokes, please. Elephant internet. How many of them have banking systems? How many of them drill for oil to drive the combustible automobiles they've built? Not many animal species on this planet have done that. They have their own very rudimentary, instinctual level structures that they do for their own version of animal civilization. But Teresa Danso says, I'm going to go with we're all spirit beings from the source energy creation. They are us and we are them, just having different experiences. Maybe so. So I would take it a step beyond that, Teresa, and say, I think, at least based on what I was taught biblically in my Bible days, was that we're all spirits and we all share the same experiences and all of that. But you have that passage in creation which says, but God breathed into man the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Beyond the spirit. So are animals dichotomist? Is there a dichotomy? Are humans trichotomous or a triune nature? Body, soul, and spirit. Animals, body, and spirit. Don't know for sure because I don't have a way to break that down other than speculating on things? Is it the soul that gives us the ability to do things beyond the animal kingdom? So I think we're all body and spirit, all of us. Everything on this planet that has life in an animal form is body and spirit. I think humans are unique. They have body, spirit, and soul. Is that what we were imbued with? And why do I believe that? On Earth, single-celled life forms formed soon after the planet cooled. But it took billions of years before multi-celled life got going. Intelligent life arrived only 200,000 years ago. Intelligent life, mankind. Is my dog intelligent? They say there are animals that have they're almost as intelligent as humans. But is my dog really intelligent? Are there more intelligent breeds than others? What brings intelligence in? Intelligent life, is Lucy sentient? Is she self-aware? I don't think so. She knows where to get food, where to get love, where to get pet, what car to chase, where the food is, what to sleep and pee on, how to hump my wife's leg, stuff like that. But does she have anything beyond that? Is there sentience there? Hey, Roger. Good to see you in the chat room. Roger Rabbit says, is the creator still creating? Or was it a one-time thing? Confuses me that something so powerful would create all of this and then go, okay, I'm done, going fishing. Something I ponder when discussions about origins come up. I know when you look at the 6 days of creation in the Bible, and on the seventh day, God rested. Well, remember, that was just for a day. The Sabbath, God rested. Well, does that mean he rested the following Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday? I don't know. I kind of share that question with Roger Rabbit over in our chat room. So, even if there is intelligent life beyond the Earth, the aliens may not be communicating. Even if the aliens are sending messages, it would be a slow conversation. They say the nearest exoplanet is 4.2 light years away. That means we'd have to wait at least 8.4 years to hear an answer to anything we put out. That means we'd have to wait for a long time to communicate. Most planets are much farther away. Could we have a meaningful conversation with only one message every few decades? Probably not. But to know the other is there, I think, would be a milestone, more than a milestone. And even if we did exchange messages, translation might be difficult. Do they speak the King's English? Do they speak Arabic? Do they speak Chinese? Probably not. But could they be as deciphered as any other language? Could we find ways to translate them? Niall Parkinson in Ireland says humans are capable of love, a complex word which is overused, but we're capable of an incredible compassion and extraordinary cruelty. That is not a scientific principle. People know why we love. I don't think it's just chemical reactions. I think the chemical reaction notion is one to try to explain away the fact that we are made up of body, soul, and body, spirit, and soul. So that's an interesting question. Those are interesting concepts right there, Niall. So what if we did exchange messages and we got to being able to relate to intelligent aliens? How would we relate to them? We may or may not understand them, but as Christians, Jews, Muslims, whatever, as people of faith, let's say you're in a faith that, once again, that denies the possibility that there is life out there, or doesn't see it as consistent with biblical teaching or whatever it might be. So you don't believe those things. But as believers of faith, how we may or may not understand them. We know that they're fellow creatures, and they might be friendly, indifferent, or violent toward us. Maybe they'll be conquistadors. There's a lot of scientific speculation that says if there are other life forms out there, why would they come here? to find and share their advanced technology with whoever they bump into? Or might they be here to, what was the old story of the Anunnaki in the Sumerian culture? The Anunnaki, who the people of Sumer and Akkad in the Mesopotamian region said they were gods. What were they doing according to the mythology, according to the old cuneiform texts? The Anu, they were mining resources. They were tilling the ground. They were looking for things and making life better for themselves. So would they be here looking for resources? Would they be here to subjugate us? That is one of the stories of the Anunnaki, is that they created man in order to have someone to do their labor for them, to mine their resources, to till their ground, and so on. Even the story of the Garden of Eden in the book of Genesis says God created man and he put them in the garden to till the ground and keep it for him. They were workers for God. According to the Anunnaki story, what did they do? Atrahasis, the king of Eridu, appeals to Enki, and they rebel against Elil, the chief god, and they win their freedom, so to speak. And what happened in the book of Genesis, in the Garden of Eden story? They ate of the forbidden fruit and became like gods, and they were ousted from the garden so they couldn't get more. So there are similarities in those stories that we've talked about before. Sarah Yusuf says, when faced with the unknown, people will revert to the primal state and demonize them as a threat. That's very true. Yep, that could happen. Steve Clark says in the chat room, Scotty, maybe they can communicate faster than we could answer back. That's what we don't know yet. We don't know that yet. Exactly. Professor Bauer says in the chat room, the nature and habit of consciousness is energy and the creation thereof. Energy manifests the materium we know as the universe. There you go. So could there be different forms of communication? Niles says, we could only relate to an alien life form species or interface by way of our own expectations of how communication would occur. That's something we presume would happen. We can't presume that. Yeah, because what is it? It's alien life. We always have to, it's like science fiction. We always mold alien life in the concept of who we are. Steve Fose, welcome to the chat room. He said, to think that we are the only beings in this vast universe is pretty arrogant. I think that we're less evolved species, comparatively speaking. Our government divides and conquers, and in that way controls, and sadly enough, we allow it. There's truth there. Absolute truth there, Steve. Are we the most advanced? I don't know. Are the aliens that could possibly already be coming here and those that we might communicate with, are they different than that? Would they be here to conquer us and take what we have and enslave us, so to speak? Or would they be here to enrich us? And just because their civilization developed the technology to travel light years, what's to say they don't live thousands of years? No. What's to say they haven't developed something we haven't developed yet? Is that technology, or is that more advanced species? Are you advanced because you can? I don't think a beaver will ever go beyond building beaver dams. I don't think a beaver will one day go, maybe I could build a crane to lift the logs for me. Beavers won't do that. They're not made that way. So we might understand it, but as Christians, we know they're fellow creatures, as I said. Does the Bible speak about life beyond the earth? There's an interesting question. Some people say that since the Bible doesn't mention life on other planets, it has nothing to say to the discovery of intelligent aliens. But the Bible also doesn't mention Saturn's rings, galaxy, DNA, yet Christians see those as God creation. Did the Bible refer to the Americas, North and South and Central America? Did the Bible talk about the Great Lakes in central United States? Does that mean they don't exist? No. And of course, we can take that to the nonsensical level. So many parts of the Bible are provincial, they're colloquial to that area, that region, that context and understanding that those people had, and intentionally so. Scripture focuses on what? Basically, the work of God, theology, in one small geographic region of our planet. And it's centered on the descendants of one family, Abraham. That's who it's focused on. It's not even focused on a world full of billions of followers of Abrahamic religions. No, it's focused on one family and one region. That's it. That was the extent of the reach of the Bible, the context of the reach. The Bible doesn't attempt to be comprehensive about the entire earth or people living on other continents. Rather, God reveals himself in a way suitable for the first audience in the ancient Middle East, leaving out information that would not make sense to them. Remember, I said when translating or looking into ancient language, what are some of the rules you have to apply by? Number one, what do the linguistics say? What does it mean linguistically? And I'm talking about structure and context. To whom was that text being written? In context, what would those people being written to have understood in their day and age? All of these things mean something when it comes to language. It was very provincial, local, colloquial. That's why Richard Feynman says, the earth, to think that God in one of his manifestations came here seems so provincial, so local, so colloquial, as it's hard for me to wrap my head around it, he said, when you think of the great expanse of the universe. So God revealed himself in a way suitable for the first audience in the Middle East, leaving out all this extraneous information that didn't mean anything to them. Yet the Bible's claims are also cosmic in scope. You look at passages like Genesis 1, John 1, in the beginning was the Word, in the beginning was God. Genesis 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters and said, let there be light, and there was light. And so on and so on. We know in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the same was in the beginning with God. John 1. And Colossians 1. They all clearly speak of God as the creator of all things, with no exception, in their biblical context. Paul writes in Colossians 1:16, for in him all things were created, things in heaven and things on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. It feels like Paul is running out of words in his effort to describe the comprehensiveness of God's creative authority. So there's no suggestion that God is less relevant for life beyond the Roman world of Paul's day. So we can conclude these passages speak not only of the earth, but of the entire cosmos, including intelligent life beyond the earth. God is the creator of all the worlds and whatever life is in them. Would discovery of aliens reduce human significance? If we find intelligent life on other planets, would that change how we see ourselves as people of faith or not people of faith? People of not faith, whatever how you were going to put that. What would it mean for your individual relationship with God, if you have one, if we weren't God's only creation and we weren't his only children? Christians have offered, I think it's Susie Q. She says, I'm a child of God. I'm a daughter of God. Therefore, I am a God. Would that apply to extraterrestrial species too. If we're all children of God, do we have that ability to claim that position as a son or a daughter of God? So what would it mean for our relationship with a God or God if we weren't God's only children? Christians have offered multiple answers to this. Some make a case from Christian theology that humans must be the only intelligent species in the universe. Why do they say that we must believe that? Well, I am doing a radio show.
Water on the bed, and I don't know what to clean it up with.
Well, you've soaked it into your bed, so I would grab one of those towels I just folded over there and lay it down. There you go. Scintillating live radio, folks. Familial interlude 1 for tonight. So they're saying humans must be the only life forms in the universe. Humans have a unique, special relationship with God, according to the scripture, that isn't shared by other species on Earth. I have to amend that statement. If God exists and God is the creator, would a hamster recognize who God is? Or is that an act of intelligence? Or is that the spirit would react to that? I got into a big discussion once, and we talked about it on the show a long time ago, but do animals have souls? Will we see animals in heaven? Was the question that was asked me. Or in the afterlife and so on. Does God have a place for animals? And I said, I think God, in the creation of animals, loves them. They didn't have a soul that left him and sinned and has to be cast into the lake of fire for all eternity. So he has them coming to heaven with him, was my answer. And I think there's a lot of things, even scripturally, talking about how God does not see a sparrow fall, but is grieved in his heart. Now, is that one of the writers of the Bible, his poetic take on God, or is that God, real God? So humans have, no, you won't. 1.
No, I won't, because it's still wet.
Don't argue with me. I'm on the radio.
Dad,
Ellie,
one.
1 towel.
The bed's still
What do you think,
ice.
radio audience? 1 or 3 towels? Nope. Whenever that was done before, Mom always put 1 towel down for you. I've always put 1 towel down. I have for 30 years been a dad. Stop whining and fussing. Go to bed. Don't lay in the wet spot. I learned that a long time ago. Don't worry about it.
Dad, it's everywhere.
So you're going to take every clean towel I just folded and use it to wipe up water.
have
I am on radio.
I have to, or Mom's gonna yell at me.
No, you're going to be the only one yelling. Do not use all the clean towels to wipe up spilled water on your bedroom. Why don't you get one of the ones out of the bathroom that's already used? Use one of those. I don't care. Mom can take a clean one. Oh my God, I'm doing this on live radio. Why? Because some of my children still have not learned that you don't bring up topics like that when we're on the radio. You can figure out there are 3 kids here from 13 to 10 to 7 who can figure out how to wipe up spilled water without using every clean folded towel in the house, which is why we do laundry 10 times more often than we have to. All right, there you go. Okay. Mom's not here right now. That's why she had to go meet her mom for something. And so while I'm on radio, guess what? I'm the parent du jour. The parent, du jour is of the day, of the hour, of the moment. So all of you listening on radio and all of those of you who are here in the chat rooms and so on, you become used to my familial interruptions. So, and what I get, especially, I know this is a broad tributary of what we're talking about. My 7-year-old child, going on 8, has intelligence. She is sentient. Do you know how many times that child has spilled something in her bed when Mom and Dad have taught her how to, if you're going to take a drink to bed, don't hold it in your bed because you're not very good at not spilling. Put it on the shelf. Put it on the nightstand. And then when it gets spilled, what do? We sop it up and we throw a towel down. There, you can sleep there, or you can roll over and sleep on the dry side of the bed. Well, now she's complaining because it's wet everywhere on the table, and then Mom's going to get mad. Mom will be fine. There you go, Ken Ballos from Morning Coffee with KB. My granddaughter does it too, right on Morning Coffee. So, of course, with listeners on this show, we have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of listeners all around the planet and the universe. You'd think that I wouldn't have that kind of interruption. It still happens. My 13-year-old boy never interrupts this show. And if he ever did, I'd be worried that there was an actual emergency. The 10-year-old Rowan, sometimes, more to show off than anything. The 7-year-old couldn't give a fat rat's ass what's going on radio. If she's got something to scream about, she will come and scream about it. Most of you who know the show well know that well. So there we go. Anyway, we are not the only intelligent species. And if my daughter trying to figure out how to wipe up water that she spilled and wanting to use every folded clean towel in the house that I just folded a half an hour before this show started. Yeah, that's my duties. I got duties. That is not the way. And yes, good, she did not take them. So I told her, take one. Do not teach her how you fold. Professor Bauer, don't teach her how you fold towels. I have. Does she do it? No. See, part of the problem with kids using all the towels to do stuff, I just took up a dozen hand towels. We have white hand towels for the kitchen. Drying dishes, wiping things up, and so on. I have 12 towels I took up 2 days ago. There's not a single one left. You know what I find? I find 6 towels sometimes at the end of the day. I go walking in the kitchen. There's 6 towels on the floor, stuffed on all different kinds of piles of shit and tucked under the counter. And I'm like, does anybody pick anything up? Don't use a new towel, a clean one, every time you got to wipe up jelly you spilled on the floor. Use a napkin. Use a sponge. Okay, I'm done. That's a Sunday morning talk. So, hang on. Why are you still whining and crying over there? Well, come here. Come here. There are others out there, by the way, in religions that can make a case that humans could be one of the many intelligent species out there. And scriptures show that God's not just a jealous, angry, wrathful God, but that he's generous, even extravagant. Are you going to come over here? Or are you just going to lay in the doorway and weep? I know you're fine because you're weeping loudly. So, are you going to make it? Is that what you did? I can barely see it. I'm sure it hurts. So you know what you do? Go lay down. Calm down. Calm down. Come here. Come here. Come here. Calm down. All right. Yes, leave that alone. All right. So anyway, tomorrow night for the radio audience, because we gotta get rid of you in about 2 minutes. Tomorrow night we're going to talk about, does the Bible talk about aliens? Do you find alien life mentioned in the Bible? Yeah, you do. A lot of it. A lot more than you might think. And there are other people out there who talk about this stuff, but let's hit this tomorrow night for the radio show. Those of you listening on radio, you're hearing these the loud whimperings and cryings of my young daughter, who not only spilled water on the bed, but scraped her leg. Show everybody the scrape on your leg. There it is. You see it, folks? It's right. Where was it? right there. I was pointing to the wrong part of her leg. There's the big scrape on her leg. I think she was going to survive that. I really do. All right. Hey, I love you. Go lay down. Everybody's up now, and you're all supposed to be in bed. Okay. You're going to be okay? I love you. Go to bed. All right, guys. Phew. Soon. Stop asking me questions while I'm on the radio. It's already been disrupted for 10 minutes. So, only on live radio, Ken Ballos says. That's right. Only on live radio. Homework for tomorrow, folks. Yeah, you too, Sarah. I want to find out, Sarah, what does the Quran say, if anything, about alien life, about extraterrestrial life? Is there room for it in the Quran? I want to know. Yeah, she's a very sleepy girl, Susie Q. That's half the problem. Trying to get these kids to bed at 9 o'clock on a school night after a long summer of staying up late is ridiculous. We're out, radio audience. Live long and prosper. Stick around for the Captain's Cabin.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
Well, welcome back to the Captain's Cabin. Avast, mateys. By thunder. So welcome back. Lucky Smith, good to see you in the chat room. It's the first I saw you, so I had to say hi. Everybody else who made it in tonight, thank you for being here. Those of you still on with us from the radio station, from radio show, welcome back to the Captain's Cabin. I don't think we're going to go a long time today. How many times do I start the Captain's Cabin saying that, and we end up going an hour to an hour and a half? Tonight I've got kids here. My wife is out with her mom right now, and so she's not here. Crisis averted. Sorry about that. I feel the necessity to apologize for the interruptions because that's not what you sign up for. It's not why you're here, is to listen to my children squabble and my children cry about spilled water. And I'm not heartless with my children. There's just Ken, you know this. Susie Q, I don't know if you know this or not. I think you've got kids. Everybody out there who's got kids, you know that children are sometimes like my wife, Rainey, my lovely wife, will say, I want you to kill all the children today. And my response is, yes, kill the children. I will do it, my master. It's a teaching moment, says Sarah Yusuf. I've learned all this stuff. I don't need any more teaching moments. I need patience and I need tranquility and quiet. So let's bring Professor Bob. I don't need any more teaching moments. For me, I'm way beyond teaching moments with parenting because I know it all already. Frankly, I do. Now, there's not much you can throw my way where I can go, well, I didn't know that about raising kids. What I have, it's like Bill Cosby in his pre-scandal-ridden days of his comedy. He once said something like, when you're a parent of children, he says, you no longer look for justice. You look for what creates quiet. And that's true. I don't know how many times I said to my kids just today, shut up, stop yelling. All the time you're yelling at each other. You're always bickering. You're always arguing. Now they say, what do they say, Professor Bauer? They say the kids that argue so much are the ones that get along the best when they're older. Oh, maybe there's certain.
I don't think I've heard that one in particular. I've heard a number of them, and having been the recipient of hitting the lotto with kids, I have two girls in their 30s, and my oldest I have two grandsons from. But I never thought of having kids. It was not on my bucket list. It wasn't in my mind. It was, in fact, when it showed up, it was, there's no possible way that will be a successful outcome for anybody involved. If I'm a parent, right? It's just not going to happen. So having that perspective and then eventually having children, and in particular them being both girls, they're 15 months apart.
Right.
It was like, okay. And there was two things that got me through that successfully. One was obviously their mother. She was awesome. And they're all like 5 foot, 100 pounds dripping wet. So they're a bunch of midgets running around my house.
Sure.
Right. But her, and then I was in the middle of my tech career and I was traveling all over the world. I was in Europe, Asia, South Africa, South America. I was all over the place and I was gone a lot. And I think that there was a lot of that because I was doing that enabled their mother to stay home and not have to work. So they had mom there 24/7, and that's all she wanted to do anyway.
That's what Rainey is. Rainey's always been a stay-at-home mom 24/7.
Right. So my perspective on the offspring thing is, whoa. I mean, it's clear that it is something that is a part of the makeup of who we are as humans and our biology. Sure. It's clear that it's a regular component of the creation cycle. Somebody was asking about creation. It might have been Roger in the chat room earlier, but energy, it seems as though the universe its nature and habit is to create. And it does that through one of its natures, and that's energy. Everything is energy. It doesn't matter. Everything depends on energy, regardless of whatever you can conceive. Even sleeping requires energy, right? Sure. Your body is still working and consuming. It's energized in the functions in the way that it does in the cycles that it has. So there are norms, there are characteristics, there are natural things, there are odd things that all happen as that entity, that child continues to develop and grow, just like we did, right? We went through all of these different stages and changes in our development as we grew, and our hormones and environmental factors, all these things kick in. And the best thing you can do is just try to make sure that you're understanding as much of the energy dynamics as possible and navigating them with as much neutrality as you can, because as soon as emotion gets involved, and when you have kids, it's all about emotion, but you've really got to learn to be able to separate the emotion from the feelings, which are two different things. And this goes, I'm going to try to tie this back into your
I'm still, my brain is struggling to stay up with you talking about parenting, and you've morphed over into this a little bit. I want to make sure I'm following you.
I think he's equating parenting with raising aliens.
I think that. Is there alien life out there? Yes, it's in my basement.
Well, yeah.
She's upstairs. Go check her out yourself. So
yeah.
So
Niall was asking about by the way here.
What I'm trying to do is tie the creation thing, which is what the whole children thing are, right? They are things that we biologically create from, as we know it.
The act of creating is much more fun than the actual creation that comes at the end.
Well, that's one of the other things that's a big problem. We talked about this the other night. There's too much focus. There's not enough
creating, the act of creating.
Yeah. There's too much focus and problems with the words that are being used. When people have sex, they're not 90% of the time, if not more. This is my opinion. They're not doing it to procreate. They're doing it for recreational physical pleasure. Okay?
Well, I just saw, folks, and not to detract from the intelligent stuff you're talking about, I put up a post on because I thought it was funny today. I put it up on my Facebook. A comedian talking about, I approached my wife to have sex 365 times this last year. He says, I achieved 36 times. And he said, and then he went to break down. He says, 15 of those days, it was too hot. 9 of those days, it was too cold.
15 of those days were my hair.
Yeah. Don't mess my hair. And then he finalized.
I saw that. It was awesome.
He said 85 of those days were, is this all you ever think about?
Yes.
So there, a little levity about creating children.
So what I'm trying to do is tie the whole creation process. And well, first of all, separating the idea that there's been this narrative crafted carefully around this whole thing of sex. It's funny when you think about it, how we refer to it. It's like, well, did she sleep with him?
Yeah.
Sleep? No, she had sex. She may have slept.
We didn't sleep though. Long into the night.
I mean, it's like, okay, so every time you hear the word sleep with someone, you automatically think sex, right?
Yeah.
And then when you have sex, it's the whole concept of it being such a incredible thing that apparently either God's got a serious sense of humor, or he's just sadistic as hell.
Well, right.
Because why would something be so pleasurable? Hey, now
putting that where? Yeah. The whole act of sex is really, when you think about it, we think of it from a comedic standpoint. Step back from the biology of it and the fun of it and the natural whatever of it. It's very comedic.
All the important things about it.
Into the captain's cabin, and it's already talking about sex. I'm just sitting here, just
what's Sarah?
my head.
Sorry, Sarah.
Sorry, guys, but what exactly are we talking about?
Well, we were talking about
Nothing
children.
of interest.
Parenting via creation concepts via.
I was trying to tie a loop around this, from this, are there aliens, and, the whole concept of, if we're the only ones, I mean, just from what we have been able to accumulate with metrics and science to give probabilities and formula and calculations to, any potentiality or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of stuff now, and it's stuff that you can actually, you don't have to be a propeller head in order to understand it. You can actually, and if you start thinking about all of the paradigm is completely different. We are in, at a minimum, an electric based universe, which apparently is what consciousness is, which is energy. Energy, the habit and nature of what we understand and experience as consciousness appears to be energy, and that energy is in constant movement. It's constantly creating. There seems to be, and especially now, we were talking about this the other night, the new space telescope with the infrared is now the whole Big Bang community is just going, okay, what do we do with this, guys? This is outside of the men, the math, the models, and the machines that they put together to come up with what they suspect and speculate as what the universe is. So all that shit's changing. And what's really cool about it is the actual essence of our existence, this conscious energy, is so real. It's what I'm referring to in the informatic end. It's empirical reality, or a personal empirical reality, because that's all anyone has, is what you think, what you experience, and you have of self-knowledge, not knowledge and knowledge of self, so that you can properly process the knowledge that you're getting, and it's making you more informed, more aware, more in tune with what is really there, because there's not only been a dismissal of that understanding of that knowledge and that reality and it's also been mangled and, like I was saying, carefully crafted to create a narrative that has you think in a certain way. It's the it's the what to think as opposed to the how to think, and the how to think is where you break that shit down. So it's another squirrel, but let me tie it back to your show title and about the whole idea of other life. Yes. If indeed what I just said is even close to reality, in that the entire construct of everything that is from this thing called consciousness. We've got all kinds of definitions, but apparently consciousness is required in order to experience this reality, right? And then there's all kinds of delineations and levels and vibrations and frequency sets of consciousness. But the inherent nature of it seems to be energy. Whether you think of that as electricity, or whether you think of that as some kind of field or form or magnetism, any of those things, those are natures and habits of the way those things function, that are habits. So they create material, they create the materium that we're in. They create the reality physically that we experience. If that is even remotely possible, and it is, at least in my head, the more I sort through it, then you would think that the capability of something that ominous, or that awesome, and just in total control of everything, would not just do a one-off. I mean, you would think that if there is any kind of sense of like a personality, which is where, our ego is, and where all these different machinations that we cobble together and create as our personality. But I think that this consciousness and the energy has probably created a boatload of different, and it may not even be in the sense that we understand it as having intent or consciousness. It may just be, that's just the nature of what it does. It just unfolds new stuff all the time. Well, it's constantly creating.
Like I said, on a completely different topic, when I was talking to my old pastor friend, Parson Larson. And
Parson Larson?
Talking about, John Larson. We always called, he was the pastor of our church. For fun, we called him Parson Larson. And I was asking him about stuff I was studying about and researching for my book. It was when I was doing the Reptilians book. And I said, this is the stuff that when you try to think about it in relation to theology that I was taught and everything, so this is stuff that could drive people's minds mad. And I said something to the effect of, what's God trying to teach me here? And he said, maybe nothing. He says, maybe God isn't teaching you anything. He says, this is just life. This is the way life works. And he said that according to when I was going through the divorce, there was all the nastiness with that thing. So God might not be trying to teach you anything. It's just the way the world is. He says, it's the way life is. It's what you do with it now is the big question. And,
well, the first question you asked is the most important one, is, and that comes from sentience or that self-awareness, right?
Yes.
And that is when you have a sense of self, then your whole conscious reality, and to me, this happens in the mind, not in the brain. So to me, the mind is the intersection of the ethereum, the consciousness.
Say materium again. You got to say materium again, because I think June Shasta is playing a drinking game. Every time Professor Bauer says materium, I think that's how I'm interpreting what she's saying.
Yeah, last week it was informatica. Okay, materium.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Drink up.
I'm following you, Professor Barrow. I have a few retorts when I get a chance. Go on. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Let me try to wrap this up. So the mind is where the energy of consciousness and the frequency signature that we are, that makes us the unique interaction with reality and consciousness that we experience. And the mind is kind of like an interface. Not necessarily, it has the mind can either go totally up into the conscious and all the different realms therein, or it can just totally sink into the materium and just be and have all of the different sensory experiences, the tactile, material, physical experience we have. So the mind is not tied to the body, but it inhabits and works with the body. The mind is not attached it's attached to consciousness because everything comes from it, but it's the unique signature.
Mind, not the brain.
It's the unique
my
signature.
brain's attached to my spinal column. Mind, not brain.
Well, it's the unique signature, the frequency signature of our individuality, of our sovereignty of self, our sense of self.
That's a very good point. That's a brilliant point that you made right at the end. It's the
Mom will be home.
kind of sentient
I'm just going to be gone all night. Just
recognition of self.
She's probably on her way home now.
Go
to bed.
What I wanted to say is that we are egocentric biological life forms, very egocentric. We have no idea what consciousness is. We can try and explain it away till the cows come home. We have no idea what mind is.
Somebody's got an idea because somebody's trying to explain it. We can explain it till the cows come home. I think that there are some people who get it.
What I mean is that there isn't a definition of it, right?
Oh, okay.
We have no definition of what consciousness
has
is.
Something to do with
and that's the one point that I made that I think is one of the most important ones. As I've harped on a number of times, everything across all knowledge domains, every subject matter expert, everything that has been established with metrics to measure such, right? So there's certain tools and telemetry you use to measure all the different things, and they all have a set of metrics, a set of standards. So there's little containers around. Well, when you're going to go do LiDAR, then you need this technology, and you're going to fly, all these things, right? So everything that along those lines of all knowledge domains is now highly suspect. All of the data for the last 2+ years and it's been going on for a lot longer than that, but it was more obfuscated. But all of the stuff, the experts, the scientists, the professionals, all of them over the last 2 years have failed miserably, and across the board, from the entire framing of what the problem and what the challenge was, through their understanding and the use of the information that they selectively gathered that was suspect to begin with, that wasn't vetted, and then formed the entire narrative with which to go execute a control mechanism, right?
Precisely. Yeah.
So they did that, and they failed miserably. I mean, they not only failed miserably, with each day, each week, as time continues, more comes out, and now you're looking at a data set and you're going, whoa, this is really bad. We got to make sure we don't do this again, regardless of what the issues were. But my point is that all science, all of the disciplines that explain, and from the physics models, quantum mechanics, all of these things, string theory, all of the stuff that are mathematical guesses and formulas, it's like they took all the numbers they could and threw it into an empty hyperset. And the empty hyperset went to crunch on it, and all this shit came out. And they look at it and they go, well, how does it, in fact, this goes back to, now I'll finish and I'll get off and you can go at it now. The thing about earlier about, if we think about life, some other life form, and the question came up, would it be intelligent? Or would it be more intelligent than us, right? So the whole idea of, if we find something, is it going to be so much smarter than us that we're going to have some problems here?
Maybe.
Or the other aspect, which they're just not intelligent at all, but they got bombs. They're fighting each other just like we did, right? So what all these different variables and scenarios you could just imagine. So the idea is that intelligence is the first thing that needs to be, you need to define it. And this is true about all these different things that are now going to be re-examined and revealed.
But of course, the way we use the word intelligence in relating to the possibility of alien species isn't one of trying to define it down to its infinitesimal degree of understandability. It's just
it's just what defines. It's just what defines intelligent. To me, intelligence, and it's very simple for me because I had to go through this, especially going through all this AI stuff over the last several years. Artificial intelligence, first of all, is the wrong combination of words. Those two words do not make what is going on. So that whole thing is going to change. But just strip it down to intelligence. To me, intelligence is this. It's the efficiency with which you can acquire, analyze, and adapt to new information. Okay. So what that says is that you have the ability to not only be cognitive and self-aware, but you're going to be getting new data all the time. How good are you at gathering that data and at being efficient at processing that information and creating a positive result?
That's a definition of it. I don't think anybody thinks about that in particular when they go,
oh no,
they don't. Alien life intelligent?
It's the process. That's my point. You're not thinking about it. It's just the way it works.
Like with ghosts, the same thing. Was that an intelligent haunting? Was that an intelligent communication you had with that ghost?
Intelligence,
spirit, a soul, whatever.
The main thing is that the process, what I was just saying, is the key. It's how good are you at taking information, figuring it out, and making an action on it. That's intelligence. Okay,
that's intelligence, and wow, there's a lot to unpack here.
Right, and then the last thing is, if you're smart, you're looking back on your intelligence. Okay. You're analyzing your intelligence. So that's my.
There it is.
I think to kind of start where we are and kind of move back in time over the last few minutes. I agree with you, Professor.
Time travel.
AI is probably not a sufficient term, but you said something very important, that is the accumulation of new data or forward-moving data. So in other words, there's no recognition of the past there.
Well, the past, I think, is you have to have the past in order to fine-tune the predictive nature of the experience, right?
The past is just the present that we've gone through.
Well, what I mean by that is that we've struggled with this idea of consciousness, and I mean, brain function is brain function. It's what we've modeled the entire revolution of AI upon, is brain function. We have, I was saying earlier on, that we have absolutely no idea what mind is. We have no idea what thought is, where it comes from, why, I want a glass of water, why am I doing this?
It's not measurable, so it's
So we can know with artificial ways of creating a way as egocentric beings to move forward. We can only move forward. We can't kind of reflect on the past and say, well, yeah, these mistakes, we have to learn from them, and we have to kind of digest them and figure out how everyone felt about them, and then we can move forward and we're all better people. We can't do that. The reason we can't do that scientifically is because we have no idea how mind works. And I think all of us can agree on that. We can't quantify it. We can't measure it. We don't know what it is. And that relates to the alien presence or lack of, it's like a projection of what we aspire to, or what we regret, or what we fear, or what we hate, or what we doubt.
Am I understanding what you're saying? You're saying the alien, the desire to understand what aliens are, to see them or experience them, is all wrapped up in that?
Yeah, there is a psychological aspect to this.
Sure, I can get that.
With the whole alien presence and its materialism and its physicality, and it's Jung wrote about this in the 50s. It's almost like we're projecting our own fears of the future into these silvery discs that are kind of like,
some people may, I think.
Which have
I get that.
a remarkable, just bear with me, they have a remarkable correlation to all the monotheistic religions, all three of them on Earth, the four-gated pillars rising to the heavens, the rapture, it's very similar. The whole UFO phenomena is very similar to
Sure.
Yeah, I think we talked about that once before. Yeah.
Yes. So there has to be a connection there somewhere. I don't know what it is, but it kind of makes sense that there would be, because it's almost like we're on this ball, right?
Yes.
And we feel like we're here for a purpose. We have an amazing capability for love and empathy and compassion, but we also have an amazing capability for destruction. We're totally schizophrenic in our thought process. We kind of look to technology to kind of save us, or we look to religion to save us, and it's very frustrating. And then we get convinced that we're not alone in the universe, even though every scientist on the planet will say it's impossible, we're not alone. But if we were presented with an alien presence, the problem is that we probably wouldn't even recognize it, and we're so afraid of ourselves, who we are within our own skins on this planet right now, that we're all, the aliens come. If an alien came down, we wouldn't recognize it. It would be so.
I don't know.
Well, I'm not sure about that. But what's interesting is, if you look in the data set that's available across this domain of information, I mean, there's all kinds of speculation and theories. There's books, there's channels, there's psychics, there's remote viewing. There's a shitload of data that's been that's looked at this. And I think, it's like, are the aliens actually us? I mean, from that perspective, and the fact that there seems to be one of the natures and habits of this universe that we're in, there seems to be a preference to a humanoid construct.
Sure.
In other words,
The Star Trek construct. There you
just
go.
about 90% of what we have heard about, seen, gotten images of, whatever, seems to be this torso, 2-leg, 2-arm, and head construct. It may look completely strange. So I would put that that's a habit, a regular inclination of consciousness
It's a
to create these entities.
preconceived notion.
I prefer to look at
form.
that as a paradigm. That is what we understand. Like
That's the data we
the
get,
ancients.
but
If the ancients actually encountered aliens, what did they call them? Gods. That was their paradigm. That was
called
what
them
they
all
understood.
kinds of
That was
stuff.
their
Yeah.
context.
Yeah.
So,
and the thing is that all of the mythos from all the civilizations we have encountered to date all have the same thing. Dudes, people from up there, or people from under the earth, or poof, here they are. There's somebody with higher stuff came and gave us stuff. So one of the things that is also a characteristic is, even though there's a bunch of strife and grief and fights and wars and pillages and all this shit among the gods and the people that they assign to work under the gods, there's always the same story. There's always the same kind of strife and same problem. But what's interesting is there seems to be, and there's some data on this from the remote viewing side, that there is actually, of the various other civilizations, the other entities that are out there, that are here, there are actually ones that are here and are here in our best interest. They want to make sure that we get along, for whatever their motives are, their intent and their reasons. Now
there's no way.
Isn't that? No, wait a minute. Hold on. Isn't that the same thing that's in the Abrahamic belief system?
It is, but
what's different between the two?
Nothing is different between the two. There's nothing different about any of this, right? We haunt ourselves. That's what we continually do. We haunt ourselves with images and projections and expectations of the fear of being alone or being abandoned. So we create these, as you said, Professor. These hominoid galactic councils of overlords, who are taking care of us and protecting us and trying to wrap us up in a comfort blanket that we can be taken up into the stars, and that's a ridiculous and frankly illogical concept.
I would
wait a
think,
minute. How can it be illogical when it's exactly the same
basis.
thing that's in the Bible? And I'm not saying that the remote viewing is saying anything about, that they're going to throw a blanket on us and there's going to be some kind of transformation, transportation. Nothing. Yes. I'm not saying anything like that.
Some kind of hegemony of, civilized
the
universe,
concept, the concept of being, at a minimum, an experiment that was created and is being observed and maintained, because you could easily say that's what the whole story in the Judeo-Christian belief system is that God said, I'm going to make this and I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm going to give it rules, but I'm going to let it roll. Right? That's basically what the story of God is in the creation of us and the planets. Well, if there's any truth to the concept that others are out there and that there's been a boatload of data, mostly anecdotal, some evidentiary, empirical, where you can put your hands on it, and there's more of that coming out all the time. But there seems to be these other folks are here. They are here and they are engaged. And there seems to be an intent of them to be as stealthy. I mean, I know Bigfoot's got hide and seek champion of the millennium,
Sure.
but I mean, these guys, they are so good at what they do that it's mind-boggling to the information we have to analyze it. Right.
And that's I think we touched on this the last time we spoke, actually, Professor.
Yeah.
And it's one thing I'm not in disagreement with you. Yeah, there are the Navy SEALs out there, right? You know, they're the ultra elite force out there that we know nothing about that, and they do not have our best interests at heart, and they're here to take advantage of us and maybe to hybridize us.
And that's some of the speculation that's out there with
steal our DNA, use us, acquire
the whole farming idea. Absolutely.
That makes sense to me, and
right.
I can agree
so
with that.
if that is a probability or possibility, the probability is where you throw you grab the dice and you roll it. One of the other important things, just real quick on the intelligence stuff, one of the best ways to gauge your intelligence, in my opinion, in other words, gauge your grasp on reality, okay, is to take the data you've got and make a prediction and see how that prediction comes out. And you keep doing that process to really to get just basically to work on developing the skills of being able to determine shit most accurately as possible. And that's where the intelligence thing comes in. But anyway, so you look at, it seems like there is some more benevolent energy afoot. The form that it takes, the way that it engages, how it unfolds, haven't got a clue. But I haven't had a clue up to this point either. So I'm thinking that my odds of just continuing with the flow and watching as much of it as possible and being ready for any of it. I mean, I could totally see that transformative transportation that just like, okay, I can see that. That wouldn't blow me away. Seeing some kind of blob a la Star Trek, the gross stuff is like, look, if you're going to be sloppy and yabba the hut likey, then I'm gonna stand back a little bit. I'm not going to run up and give you a big hug. Yeah,
remember what that is.
But I'm not going to be surprised by the form in being in person with another entity. I'm going to go, whoa. I'm going to process this and go, okay, well, I knew that at some point, I was hoping at least that this would happen. And I know there's more than you. So I want to experience that, because if that's true, then we are on the cusp of that awareness and realization that's going to have the kind of shock that you guys were talking about back in the beginning, about how difficult it's going to be for people to be able to add that information to their knowledge stack. It's going to break. It's going to break stuff all. Yeah. It's like a bull in a china shop. Stuff's going to get broken. It's knocked over all over the place, and it's going to be a challenge. And
a challenge. It's going to be. It's like that old saying, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Everyone was going like, we all know you've been lying for the last 80 years. Just tell us the truth. Okay, here you go.
Well, I think part of that secrecy has been at our cosmic cousins' request. I think this is what's interesting to me is that.
That's a good point.
What's interesting.
Too overwhelming.
And they, whatever. And again, I think there's several of them, but it's like I had mentioned before. I like Richard Hoagland's take, where he says that Star Wars was our past and Star Trek is our future.
Yeah. And I like that. I like that analogy.
And that when you look at the battles and all of the incredible shit that happened in Star Wars, you can see most of that in the remnants of those kinds of battles in our solar system. The asteroid belt, this huge scar on the side of Mars, planets tipped on their side. I mean,
sure.
There's a whole bunch of wackiness going on that, our current models don't
That's
look
not
at
a
it
moon.
clearly enough. But anyway, so when you look at that kind of information, you go, I don't, wait a minute. I'm not stamped and accredited by your institutional certification for this knowledge set. But everything that you teach in that knowledge set doesn't seem to be right at all. It seems to be something that was initially created and crafted and put a little box around it. And then they threw stuff in there and said, okay, we have somebody who checks shit off that goes in there. And if it doesn't, we don't like that, you're not going in that knowledge stack.
Yeah.
So that if there is, and I think there is, the chances to me are better than 50, maybe 60%. And the way I feel and think about it is that there is a guidance going on. There is a herding going on. It's intentional, and it's to try to keep us from totally fucking up.
Well, I agree with you right into the last couple of words, to prevent us from fucking up. I actually believe that it's to, completely take us over.
Protect their own interests, perhaps.
Perhaps
to protect their own interests.
I think.
Well, don't you think they would have done that a long time ago?
I don't think it's
come on.
puritanical.
Come on. How easy would it be?
What's that?
How easy would it have been for somebody who can travel light years, can travel in material, has an energy, an understanding of physics that defies anything we can come up with?
Yeah, but Professor, you're putting your own thoughts into an alien consciousness which you can't even conceive of. How do you know what they're
I'm just speculating like everybody else.
Yeah, but I think if you were to
and I'm actually using the data that I have. So what I'm saying is there's a directionality.
I know that I do know that there's
trajectory in that direction for me.
Yeah, if you're talking about hybridization, right? Let's just take hybridization, okay?
Okay.
If I'm talking about hybridization, that takes a long time to do, right? It takes first of all, we have to combine these DNAs, and how can we do this? In other words, with the hybridization, I'm talking about the acquisition of a planet to actually replicate it, for whatever reasons. And
do modifications for whatever reason. Yeah.
Yes, that would it take a long time to do. It would also explain, amazingly, abductions, embryos going missing, sperm being removed. Been going on for years. The gray aliens. All of a sudden, that kind of makes sense if that was the plan. It would take decades or hundreds of years or thousands of years to do. It's like an invasion of the body snatchers kind of scenario. And it's like we're going to replicate this planet for our own reason, whether it's because of our own lack of resources, or maybe our species is dying, so we need to continue the species like some kind of vampire.
Can I say one thing about what one part that you just said there?
And then when you guys are done, I'll pop in.
Yeah, please. I want to hear from Sarah.
You didn't fall asleep.
No.
Hey, Sarah. Good to see you, by the way.
There's a narrative that I find is one of the biggest things that's been flipped around, and it's just amazing to me how bad it's being misused, is the concept of abundance versus scarcity. Okay. We have more people. We have more capability. We are producing more and more of more than we ever have. Okay. There is more out there, and there'll be more tomorrow. The whole concept of anything being scarce is it's a control narrative. There is nothing that we've got enough, and it's not fossil fuel. It's abiatic oil. It's a geological result. It's a fluid from our geological processes of the earth. It's not from dinosaurs or vegetation. It's a renewable energy. And that's why there's constantly more and more of it. The entire idea of the way that, the entire monetary, all the shit, I'm going to get down a rabbit hole here. But my point is that we have more than we've ever had. In fact, we've got so much we can't manage it. The systems that all of this more came from and through and from, it's overloaded. It can't take, the reason the shit's fallen over is it can't handle the volume of abundance that we actually have on this planet right now. It's mind-boggling to me. There's more stuff being created everywhere. Innovation is being blown off the tops of buildings. I mean, there is so much amazingly actual good shit going on that we don't have any scarcity. Scarcity is being used to control a particular isolated group or countries, whatever it might be. But there's their abundance is off the charts. There are more people being born. There's more food. There's more energy. There's more everything. And all we hear about is, well, we're screwing the planet up. No, we're not. Yeah, we make some dents here and there, but we are not screwing the planet. The planet doesn't give a shit what we're doing, other than it will take it through its natural cycles of volcanism, the geomagnetic, the pulse, all these different elements that we just don't give a shit about. But the planet does them, and the planet doesn't care that we don't even that we know about it, let alone don't give a shit about it.
The Earth will survive us.
The Earth, yeah, it's like Carlin said, the 1,000 years from now, the Earth is just going to shake us off like a bad case of fleas.
Well, it's like what's the very well-known opening passages to Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. He speaks about how the Earth, in all that it's been through, is going to survive man. And so it's quite a famous passage out of his book.
Sarah, what did you think of all of that bloviating?
Yes. Yeah, I want to hear what Sarah has to say.
Gonna pay for that.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, I don't agree with what you're saying about scarcity. I mean, yes, our global population is growing at an exponential rate, and if everything that you say that in regards to technology or is true, there's extreme what do you call it? It's not distributed over the globe equally. So
that's true, but that's just a distribution problem.
Yeah, it definitely
that's not an abundance problem.
Right.
There's scarcity in places that can't get the abundance, and we have all the tools and all the systems, although they are overloaded and they can't handle the volume that's going on with this global interconnectedness. They don't realize that when they got everybody to quarantine and stay at home, and everybody got online like this, they didn't realize that the amount of how much this would change what that was. People now can, the whole gig economy, independent contractors like Scotty and I it's just wide open. There is so much out there, and that makes a difference in the fact that you have the ability to do that peer-to-peer communication and exchange. That's the other nature and habit of consciousness. And then I will yield back to Sarah. So the nature and the habit of this energy that happens from consciousness is that it seems to be what we would define as transactional. There seems to be a give and a take. There seems to be a yin and a yang. There seems to be an ebb and a flow. And when energy creates, it goes through these flows. So that's how, when we connect with the reality in our mind, which is what I'm saying is the intersection of consciousness and your biology, that's can happen there. When I think about it like that, then it's easier to me to consider the mind as a place as a spot within my material empirical reality. I get to understand it from my own experience.
Sarah would like to have asked the chairman to put 3 more minutes back on the clock for her.
I yield the rest of my time.
I won't need that much, but seeing what's in the chat, Uncle Dave is right. He says nothing scares governments more than private citizens of every country being able to chat with each other in an informal way, which is true. It's like we say the internet is the great equalizer. Everybody becomes an expert. So, and like you're saying, it opens the floor for, people like you guys, as long as people know where to look, right? Or they're guided to, this place or whatever stuff that you're hawking or whatever.
And that's the cool thing, is that network is now accessible by anyone. So,
right. But you have to know where to look first, right?
Well,
say, I need this.
Yeah.
I'll go here. It's it's like when you go on Amazon, and sometimes it's even scary the way these algorithms are to the point where it'll start suggesting things that you need based on your history and said,
I just have to have a conversation in the room with somebody and it starts suggesting.
But that's just the nature. But again, I'm talking about consumption and how it relates to space. Look at the search, our new search for exoplanets. We're turning our place pretty much uninhabitable to some opinions. I'll say that with respect.
Well, it's all the data. You look at the data, and that's
I do look at the data, and I see something completely different. So,
and the data that's presented is not necessarily what is so.
That's where the important discussion that, like David was talking about in the chat room, because you can have an open discussion and put whatever it is you want on the table, and then have people, and then have an examination and a discussion about it, and with the bottom line of just being respect. Let's see what let's chew on this and see what the hell it is and what comes out of it.
I like what Dave just said again, Uncle Dave in the chat room. It's hard for governments to convince citizens that they should be at war with another country when most of those citizens have had conversations with citizens from that other country and find out.
That's a whole other culture of power and all that.
Leaders, our governments get us into wars, not our citizens.
Right.
So go ahead, Sarah.
Going back to the search on exoplanets, essentially, if this planet becomes uninhabitable, the drive towards space and all that, we essentially become refugees, right?
You think that's the drive behind the search for exoplanets, or is it the search for just the intelligent search for life? What do you think it is?
Well, if you find intelligent or true life, you're going to be wanting to stay there and use their resources and whatnot. That's what from an emotional, which I know you guys hate emotions and all that, but
no, we don't. We love them.
We like emotions,
right? Such high EQ. So, with other species or whatever, with their drive to go into space, whether it's going to be based on that consumptive need, right? They're going to go into space to find things, whether it's
strange new
resources,
new civilizations.
Yeah, others
where no man has gone before.
Boldly going.
Whether you think it's resources or finding water monkeys to do your bidding, that anything sort of something.
Now I see how you view us.
To essentially, to maintain their own culture, whatever needs to support their own culture.
Sure.
We're all kind of like in the same boat, in that we're into that not global but galactic expansion. Once we use up whatever resources we have around us, we're going to be prowling around the galaxy like ravenous wolves looking for resources. You've seen several movies on whenever we go into space, like Avatar and all of this Jetsons movie, you know, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, it's like to paraphrase what what's his name, Stephen Hawking said, that if aliens are coming to visit our planet, they're most likely not going to be ET. They're going to be the conquering kind. They're looking for their resources. There are many in the paranormal world, conspiracy theories that aliens are after our gold, or you know.
I agree with you, sir.
That's the Anunnaki.
Right, the Anunnaki. I mean, they're after
the conquistador
precious resources and all that. So, I mean, there may be that, you know, going on. I mean, that for all we know, that could what happened to, you know, Mars or Venus or, you know, wherever things in our solar system are based on that. But I mean, and yes, it is pretty egocentric to believe that, you know, if we are alone in the universe of way too much space to indicate otherwise. I mean, it's like you're saying.
Well, that's from what we know with the telemetry we have, right?
Right, but that's limited. I mean,
yeah.
That's limited.
What's
I mean,
interesting,
if you look at the difference between like the Hubble and the Webb telescope, it's like
Webb,
watching TV in HD and then watching it in 4K. You know, the big difference. You can see every pore, you could see every acne scar, or
and like I was saying earlier, one of the shots that it took for the Big Bang just screwed up the whole theory because it took a picture of something that's not supposed to be there. So you go, okay, well, that's new data, and there was something wrong with your current models and math, because that you shouldn't see that, right? Not according to your models. Well, okay, what do you do now? Now you got to go back and readjust your calculations and try to figure out what you did wrong.
Yeah, I mean, and we can theorize because so there are some theories that, you know, that we are, like we say, in a great vibration. We emerge from a single point, a singularity, had the Big Bang. Eventually, we'll go into a big crunch, back into a singularity. You know, there's many theories and possibilities, which, you know, the average person is not going to care. You know,
not even aware of it. Yeah,
right. I mean, they rather deal with what's in front of them, the day-to-day things. You know, what's gonna matter. I mean, if the sun goes out in 50 million years, okay. You know, I'm going to be dead.
So then that begs the question, why is, you know, it's clear that there's going to be, I think it was George Carlin said, think of the average stupid person. And you're listening, you're thinking, okay, yeah. And he says, now think that everybody below them is even dumber. And you go, I think I've seen a lot of that in my interactions with humanity.
I think the only thing that has really made me think over the last 3 decades about everything we're talking about is a recent book by astrophysicist Avi Loeb, the Israeli astrophysicist. Right, he wrote this book called Extraterrestrial, and where he was given shitloads of money to set up these massive telescopes all over the place, including the Vatican, who's in control of the whole lot, and that they were able to track the progress of this football-sized, flat, rectangular object that was moving away from us. And they were able to, unfortunately, they got there as it was moving away from us, but they were able to determine its shape, its density, its size, its thinness by the reflections of the sun. It was twisting and turning, but it was completely rectangular shaped, about the size of a football field, which was moving away from us. And he wrote a book about that. Now, when I read that book, I thought, well, okay, this is an astrophysicist, and these are, you know, recorded data. This should not exist. This is not a structure that would normally exist in space. So what is this? It's like, you know, it's like the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey, kind of flipping around, you know, except much thinner, the size of a football pitch. And this guy wrote a book about it, an astrophysicist, like, you know, he's a lot of his fellow academicians. Yeah, I always find it very hard to say that word. would be like, oh my God, are you going to write a book about this? Yes, I am. I'm going to.
Why, yes, I am.
That is an extraterrestrial. It's an extraterrestrial object, and for me, that's like, wow. Now that will make me think. That will make me think.
Well, Niall, weren't you on a few weeks ago when we played the clip of Buzz Aldrin talking about the monolith on Phobos?
I don't think so.
So Buzz Aldrin, second guy on the moon. It was on C-SPAN. I think it's from like 10, 12 years ago. And he's going on about, we need to get back into space, and people are dragging their feet, and there's all kinds of wonder and incredible stuff out there. And if we just go out there and do it, and then he says, they're the monolith. He says the monolith on Phobos. When people see that, they're going to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And you go,
people are like, what? The what? On where?
the problem
Wait, back that up.
The problem with Buzz Aldrin is I don't think he had a very good advisor during his lifetime, because he used to come out with some crazy shit, Do you remember the time he flew down to the Antarctic and, then he flew back home again, and everyone was wondering what was going on there, and he's come out with some weird kind of, everyone thought he was suffering from Alzheimer's or something like that. And he's been very bizarre in some of his statements that he.
I heard some of the same criticisms long ago when everybody started shitting on Sitchin. Thought I'd drop that in there because it just
that's easy to do.
Whole another
So Sarah, you were saying before everybody else but me interrupted you.
But you, right?
Yeah, but me. Not that time.
And you're going to have the final word tonight because it's already after 11 o'clock. So you go, Sarah.
Really?
Take your time.
I mean, to me, it just seems like it's for me. I just personally, I find it hard to separate. I mean, from the way I relate to the world, or how we're going to relate to these, completely foreign alien space creatures who may or may not be humanoid or whatever. They're going to have to be what if the drive to go into space, I see as, a drive of basic needs. You're trying to satisfy those basic needs. So, which is something that, we as human beings also do, to satisfy our basic needs.
So you're talking about going to other planets to get resources you need from those other planets.
If you're not able to, if you're running out on, your planet, like say you run out of space, there's not enough.
Let's go steal it from another planet.
Right. I mean, why put real estate on the moon?
I think that there are probably mindsets behind it that are doing that.
To live. I mean,
to look for resources. I see it as discovery. It's like, let's find out. We want to know things. We want to know if somebody's out there.
And for somebody to know you, that also, suggests to a what do we call it? Thinking outside of oneself and have the ability to think forward, self-awareness. That's what I'm looking for. Having self-awareness, then and have that ability to develop your own technology and, think ahead of where are we going? What's going on around me? Is there enough food? Do we have to expand out? We expand out to the point where we reach the edges of our planet. If the planet, then we have to go out further into space and whatnot. Or after space, it may become interdimensional for all we know. You run out of space potentially, but I mean, depending on it, and then they could find us here, and or we could find them based on where technology goes, and it's highly likely that that we all are kind of space hopping, hopping from planet to planet, exploring. So it was if the way that our planet is going, it may be more inhabitable for another species, where somewhere else may become more inhabitable for us, depending on that. There's a whole cycle to it potentially.
Sure.
But I mean, in terms of, visitation and all that, which we will probably discuss more tomorrow. I mean, there's
We will.
imprints of cultures of beings coming down from the sky and imparting knowledge and stuff. So that is suggestive, like the whole alien ant farm theory that there are beings who are even we're fighting interplanetary wars for them, like chess pieces on a chessboard, with the fighting of different groups, different religions, et cetera. But yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I mean,
Well, even Starfleet had phasers they could set to stun or kill. So
right.
We would like to think that that's going to be, because that's future, it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
It's going to be for defense only.
Right. I mean, even in the beginning of the beginnings of in the Star Trek history and lore, nobody was interested in Earth until Zefram Cochrane created the first warp drive.
There it is.
They said, "Oh, they can go."
And
into
the
space.
Vulcans saw it.
Right. So it's like they can't.
That's the thing about the
First
future
contact.
is that it's so damn unpredictable.
Yeah. And unknowable.
That's the fun. So,
all right, guys. I want to thank
All
you all
right.
for being here. Sarah, I'm sure glad we got you in at the end here.
Yeah. Always a pleasure. See you guys later.
I'll try to
it's not
control them
me,
better next time, Sarah.
There it is. If it's not me, it's Professor Bauer. We both like to talk, and we both talk well. And
Good night.
Niall, you're pretty good, but you're very patient. Almost as patient as Sarah. So thank you for being here, Niall. I
Pleasure as
appreciate it,
always,
brother.
Niall. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Niall.
Glad to see you here,
See you
brother.
later, guys. See you later.
Good
guys.
night. Good morning to you. And Sarah, same to you. Have a good night. Thanks
Yeah,
for
I'll
being
see
here.
you guys tomorrow. We
All
already
right,
gave
see
me
you
my
later.
homework, so
Bring
All right.
your elbows. Bring your elbows, Sarah.
There it is.
Nudge them in there.
All right, Professor. Thanks as always for being here. Love you, brother. I love what
you
you
too,
bring to
man.
the
It was
table. And
it was fun as always.
yes. And we'll talk more of this tomorrow night, as a matter of fact. We're going to talk tomorrow night more about aliens in the Bible. The Bible says stuff about it, and we're going to go
Yeah,
through
there's some interesting stories and descriptions of some strange stuff. It kind of makes you go,
Ain't that the truth?
What was that?
Yeah. Wait. What was that? 3 verses back?
Yeah, fiery wheels of what shooting at who?
What doing who? What?
What's going on back there?
That's right. He was taken up into heaven in a what?
What?
Okay, yeah.
Came back down
talk
on a
about
what?
that tomorrow night, because I think it's going to be a fun topic. All right, Professor, you have a good night. I'll see
All
you
right, my
later.
friend.
All right, guys. Ken Ballos, see you tomorrow night, or see you whenever next. Thanks for being here, brother. Susie Q, good to see you. Michelle Canham Free, as always, much love. And Uncle Dave Potter, good to see you as well. All of you holdouts that stick around to the very last, the diehards. Thanks for being here tonight. And June Shasta, good to see you as well. And Matthew Sainsbury took off a while back. Good night, Matthew. And everybody else who was here tonight, thanks for being here. And you know what? We're going to get out of here now. I'm about ready to hit the hay. So I just want you to know, live long and prosper.